I would like to say to the classes joining us, hold on, I forgot to close my door. Give me just a second. There we go. I'm back. So welcome everyone. We have our fourth and final cyber mentoring session of the day beginning right now. For those students in the room that don't recognize me, my name is Angela and I'm here at Region 1 in my office. You want to look around and see my little office here, kind of a boring place to be. I like to be with the students a whole lot more. Anyway, I'm the facilitator for the College Essay Writing Project, and we do have a very exciting event today. I know you all are working very hard on your essays, and we have Janine here to give you a boost, okay? She's here to give you some pointers, some tips, and hopefully you'll be able to take some tips away today that will elevate your essays to the next level and really stand out and hopefully get you admitted into the college of your dreams. So whether you're just beginning your essays or whether you're editing them, I know a lot of kids have deadlines coming up, and we want to make sure you have all the tools at your disposal so that you can meet your deadlines with a compelling essay. So welcome, Janine. We're glad to have you back.
Thank you. Yeah, and thanks for showing up, everybody.
Yeah.
So basically, I don't know if you've worked with me. I've had the privilege of working with a lot of the Gear Up students in the last 2 years. A lot of you are now seniors, so exciting. And so if you don't know who I am, my name's Janine Robinson. I'm a former journalist. I worked for newspapers as a reporter for a number of years, and I switched to magazines, editing and writing. I also got my certificate out here in California to teach high school English. And then my daughter in 2008 was in the same place a lot of you are, needed to write her essay. She had no clue how to do it. We looked at the prompts, what we realized was that she really hadn't been taught to write this type of essay, a personal essay. And so I set out to sort of try to figure out what the goals of these essays were, and just some ideas on how to apply different writing techniques, formula, approach, method, to help students take their real life stories and turn them into essays that help them differentiate themselves among the competition. So I started writing a blog to share a lot of these ideas. And then because I work one-on-one with students around the world, I started, I over and over use the same process. And where we brainstorm core qualities, core values, and then we look for real life stories that students can use to illustrate those qualities. And all the way through how to add depth, how to bring meaning, how to use an anecdote or real life story to engage the student at the beginning. So what I did, because I can't do that one-on-one with every student, I packaged it up in an online course. It's called my boot camp, essay writing boot camp. Gear Up bought this course and has made it accessible to all Gear Up students. And I think Angela's going to review really quickly how you can access this course. I don't know where you are in the writing process. I know a lot of deadlines are coming up. December 1st, especially for applied Texas essays. So it's just a few days. You can still write an outstanding essay in 1 hour, if you have a great topic, an outline. So don't despair. But the good thing is that you'll have this resource, and Thanksgiving break's coming up. Hopefully you can carve out a little time to wrap up these essays and, keep the process going. And I'll screen share what the course looks like once you link to it. But Angela's going to show you how you can access it.
Right, and so students, of course, we have Janine with us today, but I know oftentimes many of you get home and you're working on your essays, and your teacher's not there, I'm not there, Janine's not there, and you need a place to look for some advice, some inspiration, for some information. So Janine created this online course for you called Janine Robinson's Essay Bootcamp. Every single Gear Up student has the ability to access this course anytime, day or night, 24/7. And this course is full of handouts, videos, sample essays, and personal advice that Janine has written out herself about all the topics. So if you're ever asking, I wonder what they're looking for, what am I supposed to write here? Janine's got it all answered here in the course. So students, make some notes in case you need to know how to access this, because this is something you can do independently. The way you access this course is you go to the website myregion1.org. So what you're going to do is you're going to type in myregion1.org, and each of you has a username and a password unique to you so that you can work on all your own things. And once you type in myregion1.org, the page will look like this. Your username are the letters GU, which of course stands for Gear Up. And then you type in your 9-digit Gear Up ID number. If you don't have that number memorized or written down in a safe place, get it from your Gear Up facilitator. Your password is your Gear Up ID number, just the 9 numbers by themselves. Each of you has been assigned a Gear Up ID number, and each of you has an account in this website. So once you log in successfully, the page will look like, and it's coming up, it will look like this, and there it is. And I highly encourage you to go through all the features. There's all kinds of amazing things to help you choose a career, choose a major. There's a resume builder. But the thing we're talking about today is the essay writing course. So Janine has scrolled down a little bit, and if you look under school announcements, it says access Janine Robinson's essay bootcamp at the following link. All you need to do is click the link, and you will see the flaming light bulb of knowledge. If you're prompted for a password, I know it didn't just prompt us for one right now because we've been logging in all day. Sometimes the first time you click the link to access the course, it'll ask you for a password. The password is the word Gear Up. Type it like it's just one word, GEARUP, and put it all capital letters. Mm-hmm. And that will get you in. Okay, so Janine, take it away.
Okay, so it's really an invaluable resource. And the nice thing is, no matter where you're at in the process, maybe you're starting at the beginning, need to brainstorm some topic ideas. Maybe you just need to understand what a personal essay is, or you have a draft already written. You can also go back, and there's different parts in the camp where you can access tips and ideas on how to edit your essay. Edit means you've written it out, now you need to make it better. That's all editing is. It's going back and improving it. You know, is it, when you read it out loud, does it sound clunky? Does it sound confusing? Do you just not like the way it reads? Then go back and change it. Or you have to trim it down. It's too long. Or maybe it's sort of boring. You know, how do you make it more interesting? So there's resources here. This website. So say if you do have the luxury of having a whole hour and you just want to become an essay writing, ninja, then you can take this course and start on the home on these tabs. These tabs right here is how you navigate through the course. So you start at the home page, talks a little bit of background about prompts and the common application, what to expect in the course, and then you go to the next. It prompts you through 10 steps. Here's the introduction, and each step has a short video. The videos are like 5 minutes long or less. Watch the video. A lot of times it'll have a related handout that you can access either with a blue link right on that page, or there's all the handouts are collected in the handout tab. So you go through the steps. It just prompts you through. Step 1, you'll learn all about what makes a great essay. Is it highly personal? Is it grab the reader at the beginning? Does it show something unique, a core quality about yourself? Is it, it just has all the different features that you want to make sure you have in your essay so that it's effective in helping in its goal as helping you get an edge in the college application process. So step 1 talks about how to find your defining qualities. A little video. Step 2 talks about the idea of finding little moments, things that have happened to you, your real life stories that you can use in your essays to make them so much more interesting and to grab the reader at the very beginning. It goes all the way through. Then there's another one on topics, how to find your own topic. What are good topics? Takes you all the way through. There's 10 steps. Toward the end, this is one that if you do have a draft, and I understand a lot of you do because I've read some of them, how do you improve it? Step 8 is all about that. And so what I would do is I would take, 6 minutes and watch this video, how to bump up your essay. It'll have all sorts of tips. And then there's also 2 handouts, more writing tips, and two handouts just on that you can keep reading. What you're doing is you're just learning more ideas, more things that you can try with your essay to make it more readable, more meaningful. There's also step 9. Maybe you haven't written a conclusion yet. This is all about how to do that. There's a little video you can watch, and then there's a related handout that shows some sample conclusions. I just am such a big fan of reading what others have done. You don't have to copy it, but you can borrow, you can steal their ideas. Totally legal. How did they do it? What language did they use? So with the conclusions, you can see what other kids have done. In the handout section, you can also find in handout 1 sample essays. One of the best ways to learn how to write this style of essay, which is very different from most academic essays you write in language arts or English classes, is to read samples. You can see how the style is a little less formal. The voice that you'll hear sounds more like they're talking right at you. It's more conversational. And it's so helpful to read what others have written. You can also see the topics. You can go, oh my gosh, that student wrote about that random topic and got into Columbia University. So it just opens your thinking about topics and this style. The style of these essays, it's called narrative. And that the idea is that you take a real life experience and use that. You share that experience, that moment, and you use that to showcase things about who you are, what makes you tick, what you care about, your passions, how you think, how you learn. So sample essays are wonderful. These handouts, there's a sample outline. So maybe you have an idea, but you don't know how to structure it. Here's an outline that's sort of 1, 2, 3, 4. Helps you plug in your information so that it hangs together, has a nice continuity. Maybe you have a real life moment, something happened, but you don't know how to write it in a way that it almost reads like a story or something out of fiction or a memoir. There's a whole handout on how to write anecdotes. Anecdote is just kind of a weird word that stands for or means a real life mini story, where you take sort of one little moment, an interaction, something that happened, and you relay it in like a paragraph or 2. They're highly condensed. One of the things I think works the best in almost all essays is to start your essays with an anecdote, with something that happened, with a real life moment. Start your essay with that moment, and then you go back and give more background and then what you learned from that experience. So I know I'm jumping all around. I just want to encourage you that if you do have the time to go through this course, it will not only help you with these essays, it's about good writing. That you could take that on into college, even the workplace. If you don't, you have specific questions, you can find answers here. So I also want to encourage you, if you have any questions at this point, you can write them on a piece of paper, give it to your teacher, and she can just put it in the chat box. Maybe you have a topic idea that you're thinking of, but you're not sure. Would that make a good topic? Please, I'm here. I'd love to be a sounding board. I have way too many opinions, willing to share them. So basically, most of you are working on your Apply Texas applications. You know, if you're applying to any college, university in the state of Texas, you use that application. It's called Apply Texas. They have 3 prompts. So if you're working on those, I'm going to show you where all the information is on Apply Texas. So what you do is you go to the Resources tab here, far right. You hover over it, and there's a drop down. The very first item, Help for Apply Texas Essays. This is your ticket. Everything that I'm going to talk about today is all right there. A lot of times when I listen to something, I pick up some ideas, but then I forget things. So this is a chance. If you want, review it later. So under this Resources tab, Help for Apply Texas Essays, this is where I've written and consolidated some good tips and sample outlines on how to write these specific prompts. Here's the prompts, A, B, and C. Basically, you'll probably have to write topic A, B. Sometimes C is optional. Sometimes there's a different combination. It depends on the school or university that you're applying to figure out what exactly that specific school wants from you, you need to go to their website, look for their a tab that's admissions, and then on the admissions page will be something about essays, essay requirements, and that's where you figure it out. And is that right, Angela?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Students, what Janine's telling you is 100% true. Before you write any essays, you need to find out what the college requires. I mean, we all need to have a good bank of essays to choose from because you're going to be applying to different schools and applying to scholarships. But when it comes time to submit, I highly recommend that you go to the college's webpage, click on admissions, and then look at which essays they require for freshman admissions. Some schools require all 3, some require a combination, some use certain ones for scholarships. So it's upon you to do your homework and go to the school's webpage. Janine's absolutely correct about that.
And one thing Angela keeps saying is topic C often is used to determine scholarships.
Yeah, that's what I heard, yes.
Yeah, that's our understanding is that if it says it's optional, I would do it anyway. Always do optional. Why wouldn't you? It's an opportunity to share more information about yourself. So I'm just going to quickly review topic A, B, and C and some ideas and tips, and then I'm going to go into sharing some essays that you guys have written that you or your teacher sent to Angela. They're drafts, some might be done, and give you feedback in hopes that you can look at what you've done so far and apply some of those same ideas. So let's just go back to topic A. As always, you need to read that prompt. Usually, there's more than one question being asked. If there's more than one question, you need to have both answers in your essay. So topic A, what was the environment in which you were raised? Describe your family, home, neighborhood, or community, and explain how it has shaped you as a person. First of all, what was the environment in which you were raised? I just like to use the word background. What's your background? Where do you come from? Or you could use the word world. What's the world you come from? What they're just talking about is like, you know, what's your background? Where are you from? Who are your people? You know, so you're going to be describing that, and to help you be more specific, they've given you ideas. You can either write about the background in terms of your family, in terms of your home, neighborhood, community. You don't use all of these, you pick one. They're giving you these options so that you focus your essay and so that it's not as general, that you don't try to cram too much into it. So another idea here is you could also think about culture. If you want to talk about how the culture of your background shaped you, that would be a great topic as well. So describe your family, home, neighborhood, community, or culture. Okay, so you're going to describe one of those. And then the second part is as important, more important, should be at least half of your essay, probably the second half. Explain how it shaped you as a person. So say you talk about your family, what your dad does, your mom, your brothers and sisters, you know, little town you live in, maybe some issue that's going on in your family. So you describe that, but that you're not done. You know, you might do a really good job, but you have to go back and say, did I also show or explain how it shaped me as a person? What's that mean, shaped me? It means you can use other words. How did it affect me? You know, how did it change me? How did it help me form my values, what I care about? Did it affect any decisions? So half of your essay, and a lot of the students, what I've noticed a pattern in the essays that I read is that they did a great job describing their environment, but they didn't shift. They may have said a sentence or two about how it affected them or shaped them, but that was it. You need more. You need at least like half. It goes into this reflective thinking. It's where you describe something like your family, but then you shift gears and you pull back and you act like then you're looking at them more critically and thinking, how did all that affect me? How did it, how am I, what ways it's hard to explain it, that are because of my family, so that's the reflective thinking. Okay, my best tip when you're writing about this, so say you're writing about your family and how it shaped you. You can describe them, but it's going to be hard to say how they are, just existing and what they do and how many there are, how to link that to shaping you. The best way is to think about something that happened, some issue in your family. And then it's a lot easier if you share that issue, because that issue probably is what shaped you within your family. What I've talked about the other, a lot about this essay, about this topic A, I believe this is your chance. If you've had any obstacles, any hardships, any struggles, any problems in your life, in your background, this is your chance to share those. It's not that you're going to be whining or complaining or look weak or inadequate by doing that. This is what these colleges, they want you to share in this essay. They want to know your background, because if you've had any struggles, obstacles, hardships, that helps them better appreciate what an amazing job you've done in sticking with your studies, getting a summer job, following up on your responsibilities, and just excelling as a human being. It's way more impressive when you know that it wasn't easy, that everything wasn't handed to you, that you had to work for it, that you had some obstacles, that you had hardships. So these colleges and universities aren't going to get you or how hard you've worked or what you had to deal with unless you tell them. So what are some of those hardships? In families, they could be financial problems. They could be illness. They could be any kind of conflict, a move. They could be in your community. They could be any kind of crime or violence or instability, arguments, racism. Any of those types of things are problems. And if you've faced any of those growing up, this is your chance to share them and write an awesome essay, because one, it's going to be very interesting, and two, you're going to have a lot to say. So what you want to do, how do you find those issues? Whether you're writing about your family or your neighborhood or your culture, my tip is to look for some type of problem that was related to it. So pick one, say your culture. So maybe can you pick some sort of problem or that you faced related with your culture? That will make your essay really personal. How do you look for problems? It doesn't just mean that, there was some huge disaster. That can be a problem too. You can write about a huge disaster related to your family or your community and make a great essay, but you don't need that. Problems are all different sizes and shapes. They can be little everyday things. It could be an argument. It can be a mistake, just a minor setback, an obstacle. Maybe you had something that you were trying to do, and then something happened and crushed it or got in the way. A challenge. So there's all sorts of shapes that problems come in, but that's what you're looking for, in effect, is a problem. And the reason those are so helpful, say you're writing about your family. If there's some sort of issue in your family that you've had to deal with, you can share some moment from that issue so we sort of get a little glimpse of what it's like to be you in your life. It might be, and it won't be a pretty picture, and that's okay. Share that, and then you go into how it made you feel, and then you have to talk about how you dealt with it, how you handled it, the steps you took to deal with whatever that issue was. You don't have to have solved it. A lot of problems stick around a long time, but what's most important is how you navigate it, how you don't let it get in your way. So you say, that's where you share in your essay how you do that. And then you're all poised for the next step, which is the most important, where you go and talk about how your environment has shaped you, that second part of the question. You've had a problem, you've dealt with it. Now, step back and take a look and analyze it a little bit. What did I learn in the process of dealing with that issue in my family? How did I think about it? Did I draw any source of inspiration somewhere else? Was there a core quality that I have that I used? You know, was it my my integrity? Was it my determination? Was it my competitive nature? You know, look in your. This is a time where you look in yourself and say, what did I draw on, and what did I use to deal with that issue? And when you share that stuff, that is, you are showing how it shaped you. And also, what did I learn? What did I learn about myself? What I'm made of, the good and the bad when I dealt with this issue. Also, what I learned about other people. And even bigger, what I learned about the world, just how the world works. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to expand upon that idea of how this background has shaped you. So anyway, I would encourage you to, if you like this idea, it's a little complicated if you haven't thought about it much. But again, pick the background that you want to feature in your essay, and then think of some kind of problem that's related to it. And if you have a problem, that means something happened, and that's good because it's interesting. It doesn't mean your essay is going to be all negative. You can start with the worst drama, the worst thing ever, and still write a very upbeat, positive, inspiring essay. How do you do that? You share that bad thing that happened, talk about how it made you feel, but then how you turned it around for yourself, how you dealt with it. That's the positive. And that's why you need to, you know, in terms of talking about your background and what happened, that's why you need to make sure that it's condensed. You just need to tell enough so that we get it. And then the juicy part, what you learned about it. Explain what it meant to you. So say you want to do that approach. Here's a little sample outline that can help you plug in your ideas. So say you thought of something that happened. Start by describing that. See if it has a problem. Only 1 or 2 paragraphs. And then maybe then you might have to give more of the backstory, explaining about your family situation more. And then talk about how you felt, and then the steps that you took to deal with it. Number 3 is the most important. Share what you learned from handling the problem. Focus on one core quality that it helped you develop or was tested. Like if you want to talk about respect, maybe respect was a quality that helped you deal with that issue in your family. Or determination, creativity, whatever you used. And share that. So, and then there's ideas on the conclusion, how to link back to the beginning, how to take whatever lesson that you learned and say how you're going to use that in your future. Those are just some tips, little devices that you can use in your conclusion to give it a nice wrap, a nice sense of continuity. Okay, so that's topic A. Does anybody, if anybody has any questions, maybe you have an issue you want to know, would that make a good essay? We'd love, it makes it so better to have some interaction, but if you're just listening, cool. So ideas for topic B. Topic B is totally different. They're asking you to write about something very different than your background, even though that might sort of feel like it's overlapping. If you get specific enough, it won't. Some students have an identity, an interest, or a talent that defines them in an essential way. If you're one of these students, then tell us about yourself. So basically, pick one. Pick something about your identity, pick an interest, or pick a talent, and you're going to write about it. How do you write about it? Okay, so I'm really good at the piano. How do I write about that and make it interesting? You can say, my mom made me take lessons. I practice every day. I did recitals. I got good. I won a prize. A lot of students write their essay like that. And just as boring as it was when I just said it to you, that's how the essays are boring too. And they're even more boring because so many students write the essays just like that. And these admissions officers have to read one after the other. So how do you jazz it up about your talent of playing piano? Again, same little trick. Think of a problem. Think of a time, sometime related in any way to your piano playing talent, that there's a problem. It could be a problem at a recital. It could be a problem with you maybe having a conflict with your teacher, piano teacher. It could be a problem that your parents ran out of money, didn't have money to pay for lessons. So think of a problem related to your talent. Start your essay with some little story that illustrates that problem about a time, and then you're all set. Then you go on to how it made you feel, the steps you took to deal with it. So your parents ran out of money. They couldn't pay for your piano lessons anymore. Disaster. This was your dream. You love piano playing. Start with the time, maybe the moment that your mom came home and, my mom walked in the door and sat down, looked like she was going to cry, said she'd lost her job. And then you could say, my heart sank because I knew the first thing to go would be my piano lessons. So you're on a roll. You just hit us with the big problem. And the beauty of problems is we care. We've all had problems. They stink, but we want to know we're on your side. And that's why problems are great to share like that. Rather than, I started piano when my mom made me take lessons. And then I practiced really hard. And then I got good and then I did a recital. Boring, boring, boring. Way more interesting. Mom sat down at the table, was going to cry. I mean, it's emotion, it's personal. It happened to you. That's what you want with good essays. And trust those little moments. And then you can go in and give the bigger backstory about how you started piano and you practiced and you loved it and all that. But now it has more meaning because there was a problem in your pursuing this passion. And then you can show the steps you took. So I got a job scooping ice cream. I got up at 5 a.m. so that I could pay for my own lessons. Those steps that you take to deal with the problem show a lot about you. And then you can talk about, and then you get into that deeper stuff about what you learned through that experience. What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn that you're capable of? If you have a passion, the length that you'll go to. And that's where you can share a lot more meaningful things about what you value, what you care about. This is what colleges want to see. Think about it. They're looking for students that are going to excel at their schools. They need to know that their kids, that if things is not going easy and it's hard, that those students are going to be able to hack it. And that's why if you include some kind of problem in your essay, you're showing them that you've got what it takes. Let's see. So it talks here about how to, pick a talent or an identity or interest, and then how to, so for example, say you want to write about a talent. Maybe you're really good at playing piano or roping cattle or making robots. Start by brainstorming times or moments from your recent past, stick to high school years, when something happened related to your talent. Same approach. As far as identity, you can use the same approach writing about your identity or an interest. Identity could be anything from your place as one of triplets, or the youngest of 10 siblings, or your cultural heritage. Is there something about you that you strongly identify yourself with? Is it that you come from a family of ranchers, and that is how you would describe yourself? Or maybe your mom wasn't on the scene for some reason, illness, left home, struggling with addiction, etc., and you were the one to care for your 3 younger siblings. So your identity was the mother figure in your home. So you could write an essay from that angle. Whatever your identity, to write about it, try to share some problem related to it so we can see how and why you have this identity. Then you can go on to explain how it shaped you and why it matters, the good and bad. The key is to not simply explain about your identity or interest or talent, but to find something that happened related to it. If you want to find something that happened, think of a problem, any kind of problem. Little, big, everyday, momentous. A problem is your ticket. This will make what you have to say about your identity or interest personal and interesting, as opposed to a general description of it. Start by brainstorming something that happened related to it and go from there. Another tip with these, all 3 of these, is that if you're a student that knows what you want to study in college, maybe you want to go be a nurse, or maybe a doctor, or chemical engineer, or a computer scientist, that's great. Colleges do like to see that. Most students don't know, don't have any idea, and that's totally fine too. But if you do have an idea what you want to do, think about a way to, in one of the essays that you write, sort of relate it to that. So you could, maybe the example I used was, say you want to be a nurse. If you're writing about your background for topic A, and maybe there was an illness in your family and you helped out caring for somebody, you could share that story and then talk about how in the process, remember what you learned about it. I learned I'm actually a very nurturing person. I actually love nothing more than sitting at a bedside and reading stories to somebody who's hurting. And then you can go into, and that has inspired my desire to want to go into nursing. So you'll know, and it's funny how it works. If you are interested in a field, usually there is something that happened in your background that inspired that. So then there's this last one, topic C, which is great because it's out of the box, it's creative, they want you to have a little more fun with it. You've got a ticket in your hand. Where will you go? What will you do? What will happen when you get there? First thing I think, if you're brainstorming, is to think about a ticket in your hand. You're going somewhere. It's travel. Think about what type of form of transportation. Do you want to do the bullet train? Do you want to do what other form of transportation? An airplane. Maybe it's you're riding your bicycle across the country. Or you're going to Paris, or maybe you're going to ride a shrimp boat up to Antarctica. Think about what your form of transportation is, and where you're going to go. And then you can think about, it talks about what will happen when you get there. That's a really important part of this. And look at that word, what will happen. I talked about that a lot before. Put something that happened in your essay, because then they're interesting. And how do you find things that happen? Look for problems. If you're sailing along, everything's going well, that means nothing's happening. That means, and why is that? Because you haven't had any problems. And good for you, but it's boring to write about. But it's when those problems hit that things get interesting. So you need to think about this one. Wherever you end up, something's got to happen. And how do you figure out something that happens? Just throw a problem in there. You know, how about some bad weather, or something unlucky, or something breaks, or, you know, you ended up in the wrong place, or there's somebody you didn't want to see there. Just inject a problem, and that will be something that happens. And then you can go same MO. That thing happened. Then you say how you dealt with it and what you learned. And that will make sure that this essay is not just some creative story about a trip that you took. They don't want to just hear that. You still have to have that reflective part. Make sure all three of these topics, somehow have at least a paragraph or two about what you learned, no matter what you write about. So if this is, you got a ticket, you went somewhere in a hot air balloon, something bad happened, it popped, you know, you should come crashing down. Great, interesting story, good. Next, what did you learn? What did you learn when that happened? How'd you deal with it? What did you learn about yourself? What quality did you use? What are you capable of? How did you think about it? Did it change you at all? What you care about, what's important? That's the good stuff. So another thing with this ticket in your hand, you can do time travel, you know, really get out of the box. Go to the future, go to the past. Let's see, so those are the 3 prompts. And if there's 2 takeaways, it is each of these prompts, you know, once you decide sort of what you want to write about, make sure that you start it with something interesting. And to do that, if it has a problem in it, it will be interesting. But problem at the top. If there starts with a problem, you're already probably going to have an essay way better than like 80% of other students. And the second thing is, if you've described your background, or you described your talent, or you described this ticket and where you went and what happened, you still need probably at least half of your essay, probably the second half of your essay, to have that reflective thinking. What did you learn? When you look back, what did you learn about yourself, about other people, and about the world? So finally, what I want to do is shift into, let's look at some of the essays that you have written. And hang on a second. This is where I always, takes me a while, right?
Students, Janine's going to show you some of the essays that have been submitted as drafts either last year when you all were juniors and we had some students working with us. Some of them have been submitted this year. So she's going to demonstrate some ways to look at some drafts and take them to the next level. Of course, names have been removed, and also that these are, you know, you won't know who wrote it, but it is somebody in Gear Up that did write these essay drafts, and we're using them to model how to go through and edit and add depth. Okay, so thanks.
Yep. Add depth and interest. This is where think about what you've written so far and see if you see any elements of your own writing, so that then you can take the same critique and apply it to what you've done and bump up your essay. The main pattern, I read about 20 essays. The main pattern that I saw, the main pitfall or problem, was a lot of them were so general, especially at the start, which is natural when you're just getting your ideas out. How do you start? Usually the tendency is to want to make big, sweeping, you know, descriptions. Well, my family comes from this small town. I have 3 brothers. That's fine. You can still use that. But what can you do to bump it up and make it reach out and grab the reader at the beginning? Problems, right? A real life moment. Have something that happened. So let's see an example of this. Here's a student. I was born on February 6th, McAllen, Texas. All my life I've lived in Donna. All my years being a student, I've spent them in the Donna district. In my family, there's 5 of us, father, mother. On to the sisters, the mom, what the mom does. Their home is where this person loves to be. They have nice land. So just describing where she lives or he lives. I don't know. My parents raised me well, supported me in everything I've done. I'm really grateful, which is great to express. But if you see, this is all pretty general. This could be a lot of kids. It doesn't give me a picture of one student. And that's what I mean by general. It's not personal because it's not specific. So one thing caught my eye. It's great, everything's hunky-dory and she's so happy, and that's all good. But remember, we like problems. That's when it's interesting. When everything's smooth sailing, it's boring. You don't want boring. So we're going to try to dig out a problem out of this essay. I saw this. I know Donna can be on the news sometimes. I'm like, maybe a little problem there. That's what we're looking for. I'm not an expert on your area, but I do know that a lot of the towns are by the border, and I know it has been on the news, national news, related to trafficking, drug trafficking, immigration. And your tendency is probably to want to say, yes, that stuff's going on, but it doesn't. Our towns are great. We have, you don't want it to emphasize that, and I totally understand. But that's the nature, that's the real world. There are problems, and it really actually is to your benefit to help colleges understand the problems that are around you, again, so you can showcase your strengths in dealing with those. So my suggestion, this essay would be a lot more meaningful. I'd appreciate that this student has this nice family and parents helping, and that she's made everything positive, if I also understood it came at a backdrop of a lot of stuff going down. So if she could start maybe with one incident. I know Donna can be on the news sometime. Maybe start with her watching TV, and suddenly she sees her downtown on the news. There's been another somebody arrested. You could start with that moment of her watching it on, or I see you saying her, him, whoever, watching it on TV, and then talk about how that makes that person feel, and then go in and write an essay about how we're surrounded with this all the time and how I deal with it. And maybe how I deal with it is I have a family that is super close, and go into how that support on the family level has helped her to keep those things that are trying to distract her, out of her way. So she would use this idea of a problem, an obstacle, of all the whatever chaos, sensational things going on, how this person succeeds despite that. But we have to get a sense of what it's like to be you. So you got to give us a little, something specific so we can see what it's like to be you. You don't have to tell us everything. Give us a little picture, a little example, a little moment of a time so we can go, oh, that must be what it's like. And if you talk about how you're watching TV and there it is on the news again, it's the third day in a row they've been talking about it, then we get it. Let's see, here's another one. This is a student, again, you'll see that they're doing exactly what the prompt asked. They want to know about your environment. And so this is how most essays start. The environment in which I was raised can be defined as one of a kind as everyone's is. My childhood atmosphere was an accumulation of Hispanic culture and its corresponding values, such as going to church on Sunday mornings. Experiences such as this have developed me into the individual I am today, how I perceive situations and act upon them, and my view towards the world. That's all great stuff. You can still use that, but it's general and it's sort of boring because it's too general. I want to hear an example and specifics. So I kept reading, here's more general, and then I read this part. In the mornings back then, and what still to this day wakes me up, is the jingling sound of my father's keys, about 50 or so, the screech whistling of the water vaporing from the pot for his strong coffee, and his steel-toe work boots stomping on the floor, followed by his morning kiss on my forehead as he would say the following to me before he would leave for work. Pórtese bien, mija, la quiero mucho, me oyo. And I love that this student used this lovely line in Spanish, because it really gives you a sense of the culture. But if you do use that in your essay, you need to weave in a translation. So you could say, which in English means blah, blah, blah. Okay, because not everybody knows Spanish. Or whatever language you weave in. And then the writer went on the other hand, my mother would wake me up by turning off my ceiling fan, turning the light on, and covering me from my bed sheets. She knew I hated this, but it was the only way I could get out of bed rather than to just wake up. My mother would then say to me, as I tried to cover myself with the bed, something else in Spanish, get up, get up. So anyway, I find this way more interesting. This little image, it's almost like you're in that person's shoes of that morning routine. The smell of coffee, the dad stomping in, gives her this kiss, same routine, so lovely. And then there's the mom turning on the ceiling fan, the lights on, pulling off the covers. Two very different parents, and so what a great way to focus your essay and write about your background. Instead of these general things about your background, show us an example of what it's like to be you. And then she could go on and talk about how these two parents, their different style and expectations affected her, what she learned from them and how it shaped her. Maybe the unconditional love of her dad gave her the confidence to take some risks, step out of her comfort zone and maybe take some different classes. But then maybe her mom, who's like demanding, get on it, was the reason that she took that AP physics class that she didn't want to take. So she could look back. And so a lot of times you can start something specific, but you still will have a lot to say about it. So if that student started with this, something like, make it more like every morning, I woke up, to the jingling sound of my father's keys, and go from there. I woke up. So this student also went into then talking about food, some cultural food stuff, and talked about how, named a bunch of different dishes, and then noticed that they all involve meat, and then he or she went into how her family owned a carniceria. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a cool topic. That could be an essay all on its own. I wouldn't try to shove too much in, pull it out. Either do the dad and the mom and the different parenting style and use that as your background to showcase your family and how it shaped you, or talk about these meat dishes, get specific. Maybe focus in on the barbacoa. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Isn't that barbecue?
Not necessarily. It's a little bit different. Yeah.
Well, then, anyway, the idea is you zero in on one of these dishes and then talk about the tradition with it and then what it means. And then you can go into the background of the carniceria and how it shaped how you think about things. And this is a part, the student did go into that kind of reflective thinking here. I strongly believe that when I get married and have a family of my own, I will incorporate these foods into my recipes as they have been passed on from generations ever since. So see, that's that good reflective where she looks back or he looks back and talks about why it matters and what it meant that to have this tradition. So I see two essays in this one. Let's see, the last one here. This one is about a more intense background in the family. It's where the parents, I guess, had bad fights and there was violence. Yes, write an essay about that. How could that not shape you, in dealing with having a family issue like that? So the student starts with, it wasn't always a good day where I came from, and sort of generally, again, talking about every day I would come upon problems within my household, generally describing it. And then we get to this part. It was hard seeing the two you love at a young age fight every second of the day. The way there was shattered glass on the floor, torn up objects, and a house being destroyed. I would go to school and listen to the kids talk about their parents, play outside with them after school when all I could think of was a way to better my home. All of a sudden, with those details, the shattered glass, that image, I got it. I got a sense of what it was like to be in that student's world. So my thinking is, a lot of times you have your specifics, your details, your little moments and stories are sort of buried in your essays. See if you can take it and put it at the top. So I would say something like, when I walked in the front door, the first thing I saw was the lamp on the floor. Then I spotted all the broken glass covering the carpet. The house looked like a bomb went off. And then you could say, Mom and Dad were fighting again, my little brother said, poking around the corner, something like that. Okay, so that's where you recreate that little moment. This is called an anecdote. It's a real life moment. It took place over about 2 minutes. And what happens is you recreate it so that we can get a sense of exactly what it felt like to be you. So instead of describing how your parents fight all the time, you take a little peek at what it was like. And then look how beautifully the background lines up with that. So let me read it. When I walked in the front door, the first thing I saw was a lamp on the floor. Then I spotted all the broken glass covering the carpet. The house looked like a bomb went off. Mom and Dad were fighting again, my little brother said, poking around the corner. It wasn't always a good day where I came from. Every day I would come upon problems with my household. So it's natural. See how naturally it is where you start with that specific moment and then you go into the background. Okay? And then what this student needs to do is what they did is they talked more about the dad being a Marine veteran and how he was so strict, and that the mom came from, had also had issues. And then it ended. And it says, that was when I was born, and it ended. What you need, what is lacking is that whole second half that I've been talking about. So now we've got an anecdote that shows us what it's like to be in that world of arguing and fighting, and then explaining more about what it was like. There's more explaining here about dad and mom. It's all good. You're going to have to condense that, but this is the most important half. What did you learn from dealing with this? How did you deal with this? Did this change you in any way? What good came from this? What did it mean to you that your parents fought all the time? How did you handle it? So this is the big lesson again. We're almost done, so I'll just recap really quickly. Look at your essay. Are you describing your family? Are you describing your background? Are you describing your community? Good, but you want to bump it up? Pop on the top something specific about it, something that happened. And also make sure that you have all that reflective thinking at the bottom, the second half. If you do that, you're going to nail your essays. They're going to be so interesting and meaningful. So that's about all I have for for today, Angela.
Wonderful, Janine. Thank you so much. And students, good luck to all of you. I know it's crunch time. I know you're in the thick of everything, getting those applications ready, getting your essays polished up. Please be sure to work closely with your teachers. Of course, referencing Janine's course anytime you need to. Good luck to each and every one of you. And I want to hear back some of the success stories when you start getting those admissions letters. Janine and I would like to cheer for you as you get those acceptances. So please keep us in the loop and keep us informed.
Totally.
And thank you, Janine.
Okay, thank you guys. Thanks for showing up. Best of luck.
Okay. We're going to sign out here. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.